Hey there folks, welcome to Spectrum Pulse. We talk about music, movies, art, and culture. And today, we're going to be talking about the debut album from Chris Stapleton, titled Traveler. Now, I've talked a bit in the past about songwriters as working part of the whole Nashville songwriting machine, occasionally feeling the desire to strike out and find the spotlight for themselves. And why shouldn't they? They churn out dozens, if not hundreds of songs for other acts, perhaps giving them a certain unique artistic touch if you look closely enough, or maybe just more flavorless mush for the masses. But more often than not, it serves as a sort of boot camp and refinement process for aspiring artists. They start off writing for more successful acts until they got enough clout behind the scenes to just be able to step up and do it on their own. Look at Eric Posley, or in some worst cases, Cole Swindle. And what's kind of startling about Chris Stapleton is that it took so damn long for him to get here. Now, for those of you who don't read the liner notes or Wikipedia, Stapleton's been a country songwriter for acts as varied as Kenny Chesney, George Strait, Luke Bryan, Darius Rucker, and even Adele. What most people don't know is that he's also chugged away in smaller bluegrass and southern rock acts over the past couple of years, which were never huge commercial successes, but they gave him outlets to explore and refine his craft and his live presence even further. But now he's finally dropping a debut country record at the ripe age of 37. And with the waves of critical acclaim just coming in, this looked to be a record that I had to cover in some way. Because believe it or not, he actually co-wrote Whiskey and You, the Jason Eady cover of a Tim McGraw song that I actually placed on my year-end list of the best songs of 2014, bar none. And sure, there is a possibility that other, less interesting, more mainstream approachable songs might fill up this record, but if he could write something with that sort of punch, who knows what he was saving for his own material? So I dug deep into his debut record, Traveler. What do we get with it? Well, even despite the half dozen times or so that I listened through this album, I got to admit, I'm a little bit underwhelmed by this. And believe me, I went in really wanting to love this album. Outside of James McMurtry's Complicated Game, I haven't been blown out of the water by a country record yet in 2015. And I was kind of hoping that Traveler would be the one to do it. As it is, I really do like it, but I don't love it. And I get the feeling that this review will be the main element in determining why that is. Because let's make this clear. For the most part, Traveler does a ton right, especially in the instrumentation and the production. The grooves have a lot of strong melody, each acoustic strum has superb texture, the drums are stripped back mostly, but they've got the punch when they need it, and the steel guitar and the harmonica blend together to create a distinctly country sound. And when this album touches on more of the rough edges of groove-heavy southern rock, we get some striking and damn potent compositions, like that great melodic foundation on Parachute, the mid-tempo ode to LA struggles on When the Stars Come Out, the rough-edged riff of Might As Well Get Stoned, the swampy progression of Was It 26, or that stalking, creeping melody of Outlaw State of Mind that might be my favorite guitar tone on the entire record, especially in that solo. Hell, even the brittle, stripped-back minimalism of Whiskey and You, which also shows up here, works incredibly well as you can hear every sort of thin guitar strum. It sounds fantastic. Really, if I'm gonna nitpick here, it'd be that this album plays very much to mid-tempo restraint. The cadences are very measured, the grooves don't often kick into high gear, and it's rare the songs quite have the punch that they could have. Now, part of this is in the production of the steel guitar and harmonica. The similar tones can run together a little bit over the grooves and the melodies at points and stifle some of those crisper elements, and without fiddles on this album, that really does become a little bit distracting. And part of this is in the production, which to my surprise is actually handled by Dave Cobb, the producer behind Sturgill Simpson's incredible meta-modern sounds in country music. You can definitely see some of in his production, the hallmarks of the rougher tracks near the back half of this album, with the aged, organic tones and the borderline lo-fi sounds, but on some tracks there are moments that could use a little bit more crunch or crispness, as the mid-range just feels a little bit saturated to me. Maybe it's the mastering instead of the production itself, but man, it got frustrating because I know Dave Cobb can do better with this sort of material. Now, I will admit, on some level, it does kind of fit Chris Stapleton's delivery. So let's talk about his vocals for a minute. Now, I'll give him this. The guy has presence and pipes more than a lot of behind-the-scenes songwriters that transition to the mainstream. And there's a raw fire to his voice I really like. But what he doesn't really have, and for the most part, I'll give him a pass here because this requires time to develop, is emotive subtlety. This guy has a voice for blazing southern rock, and he often plays his emotions very big, which is fine. Believe me, it's better than under-emoting, but it means that moments that could require a little bit more tact and toning things down feel a little bit overdone to me. Feel like he's working on selling his emotions with a lot of work and presence rather than letting them come more naturally. Prime example of this, Whiskey and You, actually. And look, maybe it's with the benefit of having listened to Jason Eady's version of the song so many times as I did last year, but the tired resignation of Jason Eady's cover, even with more orchestration, it picks up more nuance and feels more real, at least to me. Stapleton, on the other hand, feels like he's really pushing it, especially with the final chorus. At least it's not Sometimes I Cry, where he pushes the edge with every single moment of that song, before ending ending it with a thank you to a crowd that responds enthusiastically and makes it feel, well, all the more staged. It doesn't help that for the most part on Traveler, he's supported by a female backing vocalist who really doesn't do much beyond just having an extra voice in the mix. It rarely fits the context of the song and only contributes to the oversaturation of the mid-range. She really didn't need to be on this album whatsoever. So okay, let's talk about lyrics and themes. And look, as this is a debut record in country, I'm prepared to give Stapleton a lot of slack, with the exception of 2 tracks, Tennessee Whiskey, which does feel a little bit lyrically clumsy, even despite being a George Jones cover, and Was It 26, which is just an excellent song. He's got primary writing credits across the entire record and is seeking to define who he is with respect to the rest of the scene. And for the most part, it's decidedly lodged in the traditional / outlaw / wandering troubadour that we've seen often in this sort of country genre. It's a popular archetype with the combination of rougher edges in the instrumentation, Stapleton's vocal style, and the blunt, effective lyrics. It tends to work, even as songs like the title track feel a little bit on the nose. But while that directness has impact, when you start digging into the subtleties, there's not a lot to really dissect here, especially in the relationship tracks. And that can kind of be a problem on songs like Fire Away, where he's in a pretty toxic relationship and he tells her just to let loose with her anger, fire away, and give away on that frustration because he loves her and he can take all of it. It's kind of noble, but don't get me wrong, but it's not exactly healthy here. A bigger problem comes out on Nobody to Blame, where this girl does a fair amount of property damage to his things, as Stapleton says he does deserve it, nobody to blame but him. But when he never mentions what he actually did on the song, the entire scene feels, well, a little hyperbolic to me, especially considering how mid-tempo the song is played. And then there are tracks where I can see the direct lineage to stronger forebears that have already come out. Take More Than You, which is a pretty sweet love song, except that Alan Jackson wrote a similar tune with Remember When, with a lot more detail that hits way harder than this song does. Similar case with The Devil Named Music. There have been tons of songs where artists have made that comparison, but most recently I was reminded a lot of Damn These Dreams by Dierks Bentley, which had the very same reference point to family and honestly kind of connected a lot better with a lot more of the history that Dierks Bentley put into the song. Daddy Doesn't Pray Anymore, another example, where you can point to plenty of songs where the ending punchline is the death of the titular character, and I'm left thinking that exploring more of that loss of faith before meeting their maker could have led to a heavier question at the end of the song rather than him just not praying anymore because, well, he's dead. But let me make this clear, when this album does hit, it hits damn well. As much as I prefer Jason Eady's version, Whiskey and You is a damn great song, and Stapleton does do it justice. But whenever he steps more towards the rough-edged outlaw mold, like on the hazy memories of Was It 26, or the outlaw populism of Outlaw State of Mind, it really does connect for me. And even in songs like the subtle implication from a former lover on Parachute, or the We'll Make It Together song of When the Stars Come Out, those songs work for me. I will definitely recommend them. But as a whole, this album, man, I'm conflicted on this because I really do like it, but I don't love it, and that's frustrating. I mean, the songwriting is a little bit stripped back and lacking greater detail for my taste. Dave Cobb's production is solid, but not his best, and doesn't always play to Stapleton's strengths. His delivery doesn't always connect as well as it really should, and the album, I'll be honest, it does run long. But that being said, I can't deny there's not a bad song on this album, even ones I don't really love are well performed enough to work for what they're trying to do. And I definitely get the feeling that those who are looking for more of a straightforward traditional country song, and they're just sick of bro country, and they like this brand of songwriting, they'll probably appreciate this album a lot more. But for me, I'm going with a very strong 7 out of 10, but definitely a recommendation. Chris Stapleton is a great talent, both in songwriting and in front of the microphone. And many of the issues that I have with Traveler will probably be ironed out in later releases. So definitely, you all, if you like this sort of thing, definitely check this album out. So yeah, thanks a lot for watching. If you'd like to like and subscribe, I'd be more than grateful. Is there any other albums coming out that you want me to cover, or anything else I might be able to do to improve my presentation? I'm all ears. But until then, I'm Mark, you're watching Spectrum Pulse, and I'll see you next time.